sometimes people don't feel right in their body at the moment.
I feel like more like myself now than I probably ever had.
Some people don't feel like their sex that they are at birth, and I think that you should just be whoever you want to be.
A 2020 Oregon Student Health Survey shows that 8% of Oregon students identify as transgender, gender expansive, or question their sexual identity. 1 in 3 students identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or something else other than straight male or female. Is anyone surprised by these statistics? If not, why not? Welcome to Kids Speak Out Oregon. I'm Barbara Harrison. The young people who spoke at the beginning of this show are not actors, they're real kids. There are many today who are questioning whether their gender identity appropriately matches the sex that they were assigned at birth. This is not a new thought, but it's getting a lot of attention these days, and that's what we're talking about today with our panel. Let's meet our group of young Oregonians. Samantha, tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name is Samantha. My pronouns are she, her. I am a junior in high school, and I'm really interested in writing because it lets me create new worlds that I otherwise wouldn't get to see, and sometimes I can make them better than the one that we have now because of issues like this.
Rylan?
Hi, I'm Rylan. I use he, him pronouns. I go to Northwest Academy. I'm a 9th grader. I am really interested in just creating art, I guess. Like anything that falls into that category, I'm interested in a lot of new things.
Wonderful. Cameron?
Hi, I'm Cameron, and I go to Forest Park Elementary. I'm a 5th grader there. And like Rylan said, I also love art. I love exploring new things. I love reading. I really just love what the world has to give sometimes.
Hi, I'm Charlie. I'm 16. I am a sophomore at Benson Polytechnic High School. I am also an artist. I like to draw and I like to paint. It's a great way to express myself and process the world we live in.
Wow, great to have you with us, Charlie. Mo?
Hi, I'm Mo. I go to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary School. I'm a 5th grader, and I love photography, and I love singing too, really.
We'd like to hear you sing sometime. No. Not today, huh?
And
okay,
I use
Mo.
she, her pronouns.
Okay, thank you, Mo.
My name is Naveed. I'm not currently in school. I'm 18. One of my favorite hobbies is training martial arts, specifically Muay Thai and boxing.
Wonderful. We're glad to have you, Naveed. And Dominique?
How you doing, Barbara? My name is Dominique. I'm a senior in high school. I'm 18, and my pronouns are he, him, and I'm a football player trying to become a tattoo artist.
Fantastic. Well, we're so glad to have all of you with us. And this is an interesting subject, and it's something that I'm so happy that I'm learning more about, because when I grew up, it was just he, she, him, her, and we know that the world hasn't always been like that. We just didn't have the options. Can you tell me how you discovered that this was something that you wanted to talk about, whether you were he, she, him, her? Anybody want to get started? All right, Mo.
For me, it was in 2nd grade when I figured out that I just didn't feel right. Wasn't, for me, my right. I didn't like being really addressed as he, him, so then I changed my pronouns once, and then I changed my pronouns twice. And it's really just, it's good to explore the options that you have.
Well, it's good to be able to do that these days, isn't it? Because
Yes.
a lot of us may have had those same questions when I was young, but it wasn't something that anybody ever talked about or brought up, so you didn't even think that that was an option. Anybody happy that we have this option now? I guess all of you.
Yeah.
Cameron?
Yeah, I think mine was very, very early on. I love to talk to people, especially my parental figures, on pressing issues like this. My realization was kind of when I was 7. I just none of my friends were really talking about this, and I just had this realization that, this is something that needs to be talked about, and I feel like I can advocate for this community, and I think that's such a wonderful thing.
Great answer. And I'd like to hear from others of you who might have had some experiences like Cameron.
Well, I mean, I kind of realized that I'm not really sure how I identify at the beginning of the year when one of my teachers was like, everyone say your pronouns, and I was like, oh crap, what are my pronouns? And then I never figured it out, so I'm still kind of
I wouldn't have known how to answer that. If anybody asked me what are your pronouns, I wouldn't have known what to say. But now in school, Dominique, did anybody ask you what are your pronouns when you first went to school?
No, not until really my earlier like high school. Really when it became a really serious subject to talk about. And they asked me, and I was like, I go by he, him, I know what I like, and yeah.
But you knew what they were talking about because kids were talking about gender identity at the time you started school. Naveed, how about you?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, my whole high school life was pretty much online via Zoom. So it wasn't really something I had to worry about, like the pronouns. But regardless, just in my own personal life, I've never questioned whether I was like a woman or not or something like that. I've always just, it's never really crossed my mind. So, yeah.
Well, that brings up the question. When did you did you have to hear from someone else that this is a possibility, that maybe your gender and your sex might not actually match? Rylan, I think you want to say something about that.
Well, I grew up like in a pretty like progressive like area, but even then like it didn't really like come over me that I identify as like a boy. It didn't like even cross my brain when I was younger. I didn't actually figure it out till earlier this year, which is like really surprising because I feel like more like myself now than I probably ever had when I've identified as a woman.
Well, I mean, when do you think that this change happened to us in this country or around the world, that we became willing to hear that a boy might not feel like he was a boy and a girl might not feel like she was a girl? I think Mo wants to answer that, and I'll come to you in a minute, Samantha.
Well, have you heard of Stonewall? The protests happened all around. So that's when I thought that it really started to push for it to be understood for children, adults, teenagers to understand that sometimes people don't feel right in their body at the moment.
But, did it take bringing it up and hearing this to realize you may not match the sex that people were saying that you were at birth?
I mean, for me, I'm lucky that it was never something that I needed to be told. I never needed to discover that you can identify as whatever you want, because ever since I was a kid, I would just go to summer camps and everyone would stand in a circle. They would ask, what's your name and what are your pronouns? So because my life kind of started out with that, I was sort of just in a community where that was a normal thing to ask. It was never something that I needed to be made aware of. It's just been normal my whole life.
Okay, we'll get to you, Cameron. Did you want to say something, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's never really crossed my mind at all about gender in general. It's just sort of oh, I guess that's my gender. Anyway, moving on until this year, and then I was like, well, maybe I'm supposed to actually feel something then I think that. Maybe I'm supposed to actually identify with a gender. Huh, interesting. And then I just kind of started thinking about it and realized maybe I don't identify with anything. Anyway, moving on. So it was never really a huge thing in my life.
Well, do you think the world's a better place? You identify as he, him.
Yes, ma'am.
And that matches the sex that you were identified as at birth.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you feel about all the people now that you know who don't identify with the birth identity that they were, or the birth sex that they were identified with?
Well, I feel like everybody has their own life to live. They're going to like whatever they want to like. Everybody has their own preference. So it's why care about what else somebody else like? Why not just like what you like? Focus on yourself.
But do you know people who make fun of people who have chosen a different way?
I make fun of, but look at them different because they chose a different way. I like them go out their own route. That's what I say.
Well, I think that's true. I think, Naveed, did you want to say something about that?
No, yeah, I wouldn't say make fun of, but I definitely have seen people judge others differently. And although I might not agree with what somebody decides to do with what they identify as, I have nothing against them or who they are as a person.
How would you define sex versus gender? Anybody want to? Okay, Cameron, you want to speak to that?
Sex versus gender. I think this year I've just kind of opened up about gender, and I feel like gender is something that a lot of people choose right now. I have a lot of friends because I'm very thankful that my school is very progressive. So I have a lot of friends who chose different genders and how they didn't feel like themselves. And then sex, I always thought that sex is something assigned at birth. And, some people don't feel like their sex that they are at birth. And I think that you should just be whoever you want to be.
Well, how does it feel? Maybe you can explain to me and to those listening who don't get what the feeling is like. When do you know? And those of you who haven't made that decision and perhaps won't, how do you know when you're different from what your sex-assigned person is?
For me, it was when the difference that I felt when I was about 6 or 7 years old. I was in 2nd grade, and I just figured out, because my family, I saw my cousin was transitioning through the gender options, and it was, I was looking at it myself, I was like, oh, I've been feeling so weird, because I've done sports, I've done other things, but I've also always loved getting into dresses, high heels. I would chase my cousins around with them a lot when I was younger.
Do you feel like that you're being judged by other people, though? Is that upsetting?
Yes. When I first transitioned, a friend of mine that I was close with for a while, but his religion was he's changed. A friend of mine saw him recently. He changed. But his religion prevented him from really understanding, and he just laughed at me for a long time.
Have any of you had friends to drop you because of your decision to stay as you were assigned at birth, or to transition? Anybody feel that they've been made fun of, or friends have left them?
Well, I think I definitely have some really good friends and definitely try to understand, and even if they don't, they try, and I think that's kind of what matters. They might not get it 100%, but as long as they're trying, I think that's a big part. But definitely, even if you know that your friends are trying, it still kind of feels like you're being judged all the time, even though if you know you aren't.
What about families? What about your siblings, your parents? Have they been accepting?
Yeah.
Those of you who have made a change?
Yes. There's some family members who I haven't told yet because of religion, a part of my family's religion. They're very conservative.
Do you make judgments about people? Somebody who you think maybe should transition and who hasn't? Do you try to influence other kids to go the way you have gone? Because I think a lot of parents are worried about that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's I don't think you should tell people how they should identify. I mean, that's messed up.
Yeah. I think. You want to say something about that?
People worry about that? Worry about kids telling other kids to transition? Is that something people worry about? Because that just seems why would anyone try to force anyone to be anything or try to influence anyone's feelings of themselves?
Well, conservatives worry about that.
True.
Yes, that makes sense. True.
And I think that the world is changing a lot, and is open to a lot of things that we're not open to a few years ago. Let's take a break and come back, okay? Because we've got a lot to talk about. We'll be right back.